Hey, 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 it is an unstoppable day. Welcome to 21 Days of Gratitude on the Unstoppable Thoughts Show with your host, Terrence Leftridge. Yes, 21 Days of Gratitude, where we are using this entire session to help you focus more on what you should be grateful for, be thankful for, help you to focus more on the things that you have and less on the things that you may not have. I'm so happy that you guys have been hanging out with us through the 21 days of gratitude. And hopefully, you've been using that hashtag be thankful in everything you do over the past couple of weeks that we've been doing this. We are coming down to the end of the line. Today is day 20. Day 20. And today, we are going to have another special guest that I'll introduce to you shortly. But let's just think about some of the great things that we've become thankful for and grateful for over these past 21 days. We've had guests come on to be grateful for just life. We've had people that have been grateful for the ability to forgive. We've had people come on that have been grateful for cheerleaders, mentors, coaches, and friends, those people that don't tell them what they think they need to hear, but help them to move to the next level of their greatness. So hopefully, as you've been watching these episodes, you found some things outside of the regular things that we say we're thankful for, we're grateful for, and you've really been able to dig deep and find some things that you may not have thought or you may have taken for granted, but now you recognize that you're grateful for. And one of those things that we probably take for granted is in most of the places where you may be watching me right now is that word freedom. Freedom. The ability to do what you want, when you want, where you want, without anyone stopping you or telling you that you can't. We've recognized, especially over the last couple of years, that our freedoms have been impeded upon, especially here in the United States, which is something we're not used to. There are other parts of the world where freedom has been a word that has been fleeting for many of our third world countries or many of our other undeveloped countries and nations for many reasons. But to see it come into the mainstream Western civilization, uh, even in the superpower worlds that we are used to having our freedoms each and every day, this is something that was a shock to the system. And so today we focus on freedom, and we have a guest with us that knows a little bit about being for freedom. He has had that freedom taken away from him of no fault of his own, and sometimes just as a victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong situation. But he's overcome that, and he's got a great story to tell, and he'll share a little bit of that story with you today. He's none other than my good friend, Anthony Rosario. Welcome to Unstoppable Thoughts, Anthony. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me here, Terrence. It's an honor.
Hey, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Now, I said a little bit about you before we brought you up, but I believe that every person can tell who they are way better than I can. So take
Oh,
a couple of seconds, introduce yourself to the Unstoppable Thoughts audience, and then we'll jump into what you're grateful for today, okay?
sure. So, as you can see on the screen, my name is Anthony Rosario. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised. Come from a law enforcement family. My dad, my brother, my uncles. It goes on and on. But for what it's worth, I'm grateful to be free. And freedom comes in many facets. A lot of people think of freedom as just in the physical, but I appreciate freedom when it comes in harmony to both physical and mental. And for me, more importantly, it'll be a trinity, which includes most importantly is the spiritual. So that's what I'm grateful for is my freedom, that it is in harmony in spirit, mind, and body, and it's a pleasure to be able to share my story with people because I believe that my story was specifically designed for the world to hear.
So it's funny, Anthony, that you would be grateful for freedom because, as I said in the intro, we kind of take that for granted here especially in the United States. You from Chicago, my hometown, side town. Shout out to all the people that are going to watch us live or in the replay from the Chicagoland area, and happy holidays to you. So in Chicago, we really didn't think about freedom. We got up, we went where we needed to go, we did what we needed to do, wash, rinse, and repeat. So, why is the word freedom so important to you about including your backstory?
Well, you said it as good as it can be said in the constant routine. So a lot of times people don't understand is that when they say they're tired, they feel like they're in prison. That becomes a mental state. And in Chicago, as you and I both know, it becomes a constant routine of the same old thing. And in the areas that you and I grew up in, it was constant, for lack of a better word, chaotic, right? And we had to learn how to adapt and conform. So what I tell people is that it's not the brick and mortar in and of itself that consists of a prison, but the nonstop constant routine. And so when I was in that nonstop constant routine with my story, now that I'm able to come and go as I please and to do what I know I'm capable of because I know my identity, which is in and of itself as well a topic of its own identity. I'm grateful to be able to reach the full potential of where I know I'm supposed to be in life.
Well, that's a great answer, and thank you for sharing that with us. Many times, freedom is taken for granted. I take for granted, just for example, this morning, for example, that I get the opportunity to get up, walk out of my door, and go do the things that I need to do. And while this may not be a great example of freedom, uh, they're painting my complex today, and they're painting the walkway that leads right in front of my door. And so before we got started, they knocked on my door and asked me if I was leaving today. And I said, yeah, well, I'm going to be leaving shortly after we do what we're doing right now. Oh, can you wait till the paint dries? And so, Anthony, now I have to wait until the paint dries in front of my door so I can walk out of my door and get to where I have to go. So my freedom is being impeded upon out of out of nothing that I did, just out of circumstances that are beyond our control. How does it feel to you when your freedom is impeded upon out of circumstances that are without or beyond your control?
Well, that's a good question that a lot of people ask, and it isn't easy when your freedom is impeded upon. I'll go ahead and give a quick glimpse of my story as soon as I answer your question. Is that when a freedom of some sort, whether if it's small, medium, or large, in that aspect of your life where you feel something or someone is just intruding or withholding, like in your situation, you're being temporarily confined to where you live. I tell people it's not the circumstance in and of itself that is going to be of consequence, but it's what you do about it. And so for me, I tell people all the time, you are the sole proprietor of your circumstances. You can make the best of your circumstances only if you will yourself to do so. Then there's those who want to be passive and allow that time to consume them, and then they're non-productive. So what happens? You got the two different kinds of people. The one that makes that time productive, the one that makes it unproductive. Which one do you think is uh, gonna feel good about self whenever they do come and face? Uh, in your case, it could be looked at as an adversity, right?
Absolutely, an adversity or an inconvenience or a nuisance, and sometimes, and how we deal with the freedom or lack thereof, or the attainment of freedom, makes a big difference in who we are and who we become. I'm often reminded of Dr. Martin Luther King, who says uh, um, it's not where a man is in a time of comfort or convenience, but where a man is and stands in times of conflict and controversy. many times in our lives, in your lives, if you keep on living, as the old folks say, you're going to find a time where your freedom is going to be impeded on, your time freedom. Someone's going to want more of your time than you are willing to give them. Your financial freedom, your finances may not be in the place where you can do, have, and be everything that you want to be financially. And in the mind freedom, many of us were not physically incarcerated behind bars, but we are incarcerated inside of our own head because we can't stop focusing on those things that hold us back instead of focusing on those things that allow us to be free. So many times it's in those conflicts, in those complex situations, that we really begin to understand what freedom is and how important it is to be grateful for the freedoms that we have. So, what
Right.
are some of the freedoms that you're grateful for today? What are some of the things that you are free to do that you're grateful for?
Well, let me, before I answer that question, let me give your audience a quick glimpse of my story. So, as I mentioned earlier, the kind of family that I come from, the neighborhoods that I come from, my story, a lot of people would think, okay, he comes from a law enforcement family, he was raised in a good home, which was true, and therefore he has a good life. He may be in law enforcement, considering he always talks about his family being part of law enforcement. On the contrary, that wasn't the case. Um, I was wrongfully convicted for a crime I didn't commit. It was a shooting in Chicago in the community or adjacent community where I grew up at. And to make a long story short, I served 23 years. It was 23 years of agony. Um, I didn't only get my freedom stripped away from me. I tell people that I was raped of my freedom. I was raped of having that ability to be with my family, to grow, and to become the person that I knew I was capable of becoming. In fact, I was involved in ministry prior to that nightmare. And when I was faced with an adversity that most people couldn't even wrap their heads around, I thought for a moment there that I wasn't going to be able to survive it. It was through my rebellion that I learned that there was a purpose. I didn't understand it at that moment, but it was after that 4.5 year rebellion that I came to realize that there is a purpose despite the pain and suffering that I was going through. And so I had to make the best of it. And how did I do that? I had to find self once again, which is not an easy task. But in finding self, I learned that the true identity to the person that wants to reach their full potential has nothing to do with what they're going through, but instead how to conquer that circumstance and make it, like you said, convenient to help grow. And brother, when I tell you it was hard, it was hard. But nothing of life that is of value comes without effort, correct? My story goes on and on. So I can go on with that, but to make that long story short, my freedom now means more to me than what most people can fathom. I appreciate something as simple as an electrical toothbrush, something I dreamt about for years.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, and to jump in my car and be able to just drive at any given time to do what I want, when I want, and most importantly, to be able to pour life in people that I don't even know, strangers that I meet down the street or at a gas station. And here we are talking, building a good relationship as I talk to them about the opportunities that life has to offer despite their circumstances.
Wow. I love that. We're talking to Anthony Rosario. We're talking on the 21 Days of Gratitude, and Anthony is grateful for freedom. And you never really take the full weight of what freedom is until you have it taken away from you. And you had the ultimate takeaway of freedom by being incarcerated. And we can see the passion in your voice right now when you talk about uh, the toothbrush, when you talk about being able to get into your car, when you talk about being able to do the things that for so many years you were unable to do. And I love how you touched upon how you have to change the way you think about it in the process before you can get to where it is that you want to go. So as you celebrate freedom today, what would you say to our audience that might be struggling with physical imprisonment, as in incarceration, mental imprisonment, and the lack of freedom of mind and choice? What would you say to those people that are struggling to really embrace their freedoms today?
Well, the most important thing is to just be still. I don't like to impede my faith on people, but I tell people all the time, be still and let God. As a man of faith, I learned how to tap into that part of my life, my faith. And when a person learns how to be still and just understand that there's a lot of people that are a whole lot worse at this very moment, and to be grateful for the little that you have, even if a person is physically incarcerated, but even more so for those that are not physically incarcerated, that have the ability to walk out their door and take a fresh breath of freedom, the physical part. And from there, just put the pieces together little by starting with the mind and then working on the heart. Because when it's all said and done, the mind is simply a filter to what enters the heart. Once, whether it's good or bad, is filtered in through the mind and is finds refuge in the heart, that's who you become. So I tell people, take advantage of the opportunities that are presented even in those darkest of circumstances, because in every challenge, believe it or not, there's always an opportunity to grow. Question is, what is the lesson to be learned behind that struggle, or even in my case, that nightmare?
I love it. In every challenge, there is the opportunity to grow. And they say freedom is the open window through which pours the sunlight of the human spirit and
Yeah.
the human dignity. In our freedom, we are able to exhibit our spirits and our dignity from one to another. In our freedom, we are free to share that all that is us and all that we can be for other people, so that in our freedom, people can see the hope for their own freedom if they're in a state of imprisonment. I look at your story and I look at how even before you were released from prison, you were still ministering to those behind the prison walls. And now you've taken your ministry outside of the prison walls and you're looking to bridge the gap between the criminal justice system and the incarcerated people that are on their way out. I love what you're doing. I love how you are embracing your freedom and how you are encouraging other people to seek that freedom in their own lives. So thank you for sharing that with us today on 21 Days of Gratitude, letting us know that it's important to be grateful for our freedoms. So, Anthony, if someone wants to reach out to you, if they want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, how they can get involved with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, as of right now, they could go on my personal Instagram. I'm right now rebuilding my platform, and my Instagram is Rosario Anthony 312, or they can contact me through my email, which is arms.vision1@gmail.com.
Wow, that's fantastic. And we got that information right there on the screen. So if you want to have a deeper conversation on how you can be grateful for your freedoms, then reach out to Anthony on his IG page, or send him an email. Let him know what you thought about this meeting, this sharing of information here on the 21 Days of Gratitude. Anthony, happy holidays to you. We wish you nothing but health, wealth, and continued freedom. And we look forward to talking to you down the line. Okay.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Terrence.
All right. Stay tuned. We're going to come right back after we end this episode. That's Anthony Rosario. Check him out at Rosario Anthony 312 on Instagram, or you can email him at arms.vision1@gmail.com. We thank him so much for being on 21 Days of Gratitude, where we are having an attitude of gratitude throughout this holiday season to help you focus more on the things that you have and the things that that are important to you, instead of those things that might be bogging you down and stopping you. So listen, we have one more day And I hope that you will tune in for the last day of the 21 days of gratitude. But in parting, as always, wherever you are in the world today, you know what we say. Don't just make it a great day. Go out and have an attitude of gratitude and make it an unstoppable day. Take care.